I know Queen Elizabeth II got to watch as almost all of the British Empire got dismantled. And she did so with grace and dignity. She allowed, with no real problems, every country to separate itself from the United Kingdom, from Great Britain, and become their own countries. She uncolonized, she decolonized, she backed off. And yet, I sincerely doubt that she would appreciate her son giving her country over to Islam. Now, don't misunderstand me. England has never been particularly pro-Jewish, so that's not a big thing here. That's not a huge shock. However, to say that Islam helped create a modern Europe, well, yeah, it did, because Europe is being created in the polar opposite of what Islam does. Europe has women's rights. Islam doesn't. Europe believes in children being children and not being abused. Islam doesn't. And I'm sure on Bitch Talk I will get a community guidelines violation for this. It's not my fault that in Iran you can marry your 9-year-old cousin if you're a 40-year-old man. That's not my fault. That's Islam's fault. This is basically King Charles saying, I don't want to be king no more. You be king for me. Or somehow the demented old fool thinks that if he actually gives in to the terrorists that are trying to colonize the planet, that somehow his son will still be allowed to be king. Because there's more than one king in Islam. There's all sorts of little dictatorship countries. So why can't he be their little dictatorship country too? You can. But it won't be in your name. And it won't be in your religion. Because in case you weren't paying attention, Islam's no nicer to Christians. Because you see, Christians stole from Jews, Islam stole from Christians, which means they also stole from Jews. That's why there are Jewish proverbs in the Quran. That's why they all hate the one before it, because you think you're supposed to be the last best religion if you're Islam. Well, so did Christianity. Every religion claims its God is the only God. Every religion claims that its texts are the right texts, written by God. No. None of them. Not the Bible, not the Quran, not the Torah, and I know I'm going to get in shit with other Jews for that one, but I'm sorry, humans wrote those books. They could have been inspired by God. You can say that. I don't have a problem with that. Although I personally will tell you that too much of psychic bullshit, especially with things that are not human, makes me not at all curious as to why prophets went crazy. However, I personally would like to say goodbye to England and Scotland and Wales as they are being colonized from within, and their leader apparently is too old and decrepit to do anything about it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if Islam does manage to colonize the world, Christians and Jews, if you haven't been killed and you're allowed to not convert, be prepared to pay your dhimmi taxes. Make sure that you understand that you will not be able to wear certain clothing that Muslims wear. You'll be riding donkeys as opposed to horses. No church or synagogue, if synagogues still exist, will be allowed to be taller than a mosque. You won't be allowed to ring church bells. And the idea that once it's all Islam, it'll be peace. You're not paying attention to what's happening in the Muslim countries, are you? It's Muslims killing Muslims in Iran, in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Egypt, UAE, all these places. You know, those are Muslims killing Muslims. But for the bulk of you, you don't care. Because if it's Muslims killing Muslims, it's like black on black crime. It's something you can blame, so that's their fault. You don't have to worry about it. But it doesn't really have anything to do with you, does it? Nah.